Hi, welcome. Welcome to the third day of Start Me Up Week and the second day of the Impact Summit, brought to you in collaboration with WHub. My name is Casey Lam. I'm head of aftercare at InvestHK, and I will be your MC for this afternoon. It gives me great pleasure today to welcome two speakers on FinTech, my colleague King Leung, who heads our FinTech team at InvestHK, and also Mr. Anthony Sa, who is founder and CEO of FinNoVasia. FinNoVasia is official organizer for FinTech Week in collaboration with InvestHK since 2018, and is the first cross-border FinTech event taking place in Hong Kong, Asia's financial capital. This cross-border goes across the border to Shenzhen, which is China's Silicon Valley, and it is one of the largest conferences on the calendar, on the FinTech calendar, attracting more than 8,000 senior executives, investors, regulators, and academics from all over the world. And these people are shaping the future of the financial services by driving technological revolution in the industry across Asia and globally. The talk this afternoon is titled Fast Tracking Your Next Success. Over to you, King.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Right, thank you very much. Now, over the next, I would say 10-15 minutes, what I'd like to do is to share with the guests and our friends online about the opportunities in Hong Kong. Now, before we get into the details in the form of a few slides, just want to put the whole thing in context. So obviously, the whole pandemic has been creating a lot of disruptions around the world. And we just came across a recent report from the IMF that essentially have laid out the projections of the recovery pace around the world in all the major economies. And after looking at the report, I have to say that we've been very blessed that Hong Kong is able to rebound ahead of the curve a little bit earlier than some of our peers around the world. With a positive, I believe the number I recall is 1.7% positive growth for the upcoming Q3 for 2020. So in that context, I just want to start with some slides to just essentially highlight the key opportunities that Hong Kong has to offer for FinTech companies around the world. Okay, let me take a look. So can we play the slides? Okay, thank you. Now, again, this is a deck with a lot of information. In the interest of time, I just want to hit on some of the major highlights. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. All right, there we go. So can we move the slides? No, perhaps we can do it manually. So can we move to the next slide, please? All right, now, so I guess before we talk about the specific opportunities, it will be helpful to just put the whole FinTech ecosystem in Hong Kong in context. So now again, there are a lot of numbers on this slide, which is a synopsis of the FinTech ecosystem last year, 2019. Now, the one thing I just want to highlight is that, now, of course, you see that on the left, we have over 600 FinTech companies, but there are two numbers that are quite important. Now, first of all, I just want to focus your attention to the 53% number on the slide here. Now, essentially, that is the number that indicated the interest of FinTech companies, both locally and also internationally, in using Hong Kong to grow globally as a springboard. Now, at the same time, the number at the bottom, 51%, is the percentage of FinTech companies that answered the survey that indicated that Hong Kong will be their launchpad to expand into the GBA. So again, Hong Kong is not just Hong Kong. It's about a lot of opportunities around the world, and more specifically, the GBA. Now, another number I want to quickly highlight to you is the 76% number. Now, what that is referring to is essentially about the percentage of the FinTech companies that focus in the B2B space as opposed to B2C. Now, I think if we look at the slides in the upcoming, okay, can we move to the next slide, please? All right, now, so we would, next slide, please. All right, now, just now I talked about the 76% number, and that is a pretty important message in which when you look at the Hong Kong market, now, despite the smaller population of 7.5 million or so, I think one thing to note is that on the right-hand side of a series of numbers, you can see that the Hong Kong has a very rich base of enterprises. Now, whether in banking, asset management, insurance companies. Now, again, there are a lot of small numbers. If I have to put up one number to put the whole thing in perspective, I would have to point out that of the top 100 banks in the world, actually Hong Kong has 78 of them representing in the Hong Kong market. So that is phenomenal. And the same can be said about the insurance sector, asset managers segment. So therefore, if we are looking at putting myself in the shoes of a fintech company, if I have to go into a market where there are lots of B2B enterprise clients, then Hong Kong is the place. Now, the middle section, you can see a bunch of numbers that refer to some transaction numbers, the AUM. Again, I won't go into a lot of details. We look at the pure size of these transaction numbers is phenomenal. And this is because Hong Kong being a worldwide financial center, there's just a lot of cross-border transactions taking place, be it in payments, remittance. At the same time, we talk about the investment money coming in and out of Hong Kong. So making Hong Kong with a tremendous breadth of liquidity. So with that, now, of course, I think we cannot complete the story of Hong Kong without talking about GBA. So, of course, the market in itself is enormous. 71 million population, 1.6 trillion US dollar GDP. Now, but I think when you look at the whole market, now, besides the size of the market, it's about the changing landscape. Because obviously, for those of you who've been following the news about GBA, the regulators and the governments of the various cities, 11 of them as a whole, have been working tirelessly to try to open up and have been going through a lot of, I would say, policy reforms, making the access to products internationally for the mainland Chinese consumers possible down the road. So there are numerous initiatives from the Wealth Connects. There have been some major announcements just recently. There's also some other developments in the insurance space. So I think the change of the landscape is creating some new opportunities for players with some innovative opportunities, solutions for the markets. So again, this is a fantastic opportunity as well. Okay, now so ASEAN is another major market where overseas companies are using Hong Kong as a springboard to get into. And there's just a lot of free trade agreements already in place. So making the Hong Kong-based company to operate in a relatively competitive manner in these ASEAN markets. Now, so again, this is another BC chart. This is essentially a synopsis of the government subsidies offered by the Hong Kong government. Now, without getting into a lot of details, I just want to highlight the essence of what this is trying to articulate. Now, essentially from top to bottom, you can see that whether it's for new company setup, R&D for development, such as doing localization, hiring the new staff, doing AI work, blockchain, and whatnot. And then you have business development, so helping the companies to get some subsidies in selling their perhaps solutions to corporate clients. Again, the fundraising for subsequent growth, and then last but not least, overseas expansion. So as you can see on the right of this slide, there are numerous schemes which I'm happy to get into during the Q&A, in which there's just a lot of schemes to help along the whole, I would say, journeys of using Hong Kong as a base to grow. So again, this is something that we're happy to take some questions in the Q&A session. Okay. Now, funding source, of course, this is something that Hong Kong is known for. that Hong Kong has been the #1 IPO market in 7 of the past 11 years, raising, as you can see, more than $10 billion just for fintech sector alone. Now, on the left-hand side, another key message is that even before we talk about the IPOs, even in the earlier stages, the seed stage, Series A, Series B, we're talking about over $1.5 billion of funds being raised since the year 2014. So again, this basically emphasizes the point that Hong Kong is a fantastic place for companies to use as a springboard to receive capital for further growth. Now this slide is essentially trying to get across an important message, and that is obviously fintech is basically a regulated sector. Now, so the pace of regulatory innovation, if you will, is an important driver of the whole market. And this is just one slide from our friends over at HMA, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the de facto central bank of Hong Kong. And as you can see, there are lots of boxes in this slide. So what this is trying to get across is that there's just a lot of work and initiatives being done by the HMA regulator to essentially streamline a lot of the regulations, have new environments, the sandboxes and so on, to basically facilitate a lot of innovative developments of fintech. Now, talent, of course, is another important aspect, because fintech, you have the fin and the tech. And obviously, being a leading financial center in the world, we have a whole host of talents and professionals across the different segments, from accounting, asset management, banking, insurance, legal, and so on. Now, and this essentially would like to highlight about the various institutions that are essentially helping to create more programs that are producing, I think, the next generation of fintech talents. And as you can see, numerous universities, a major corporation like Tencent, the regulators like HMA, the Cyberport, Science Park alike, they are working together to create programs to ensure we have an ongoing supply of talents to support us on both the fin side and the tech side of fintech. Okay, now last but not least, this is referring to the tax. Now this is something that for Hong Kongers living in Hong Kong, we can't take for granted. But as we talk to our friends from overseas, we realize that this is something that we should not underestimate. So the tax rate is very competitive, and particularly with the new introduction of this two-tier tax system, that for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profit, the tax is only about 8.25%. Okay. Now, you may ask, wow, this is fantastic, but then how can I get more information, or who are the ones we should talk to learn more about opportunities in Hong Kong? Then I would think the next slide would be a good one to give you a synopsis. Now, as you can see, the Invest Hong Kong, you can see us as the super connector, that we are plugged into the private sector, that we work very closely with, for example, the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, the WHub. These two are our very close partners that help us to reach out to the private sector's organizations. Now, at the same time, you can see that the Cyberport, the Science Park, universities, the regulators, HKEX, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Now, these are also the other major partners. Also, there's S3 and Hong Kong Productivity Council, HKPC. So these are all major partners of us from the public sector, in which they are the organization like Cyberport and Science Park. They are the ones that provide the spaces as kind of like a co-working environments. At the same time, they are also administering some of the funding schemes in terms of actually giving out various schemes to the incoming startups, including in fintech. Now, and then the S3, they are focusing in the R&D that they can collaborate with you. The regulators, of course, you have the banking, the insurance, the crypto, asset management side, and HKEX, again, is on the funding aspect. So these are the major partners that once you talk to us, depending on your needs, we can connect you to the right person at these organizations. Now, I would end with this slide to give you a sense about how we see the fintech world. Now, as you can see, this is a snapshot from a study by the CB Insights, and there are basically 10 different segments of fintech, and we basically welcome companies across the whole spectrum. And obviously, some of them are more active than the others, particularly this year. So we see a lot of strong momentum, for example, in the lending space, particularly SME lending. The crypto space is very, very strong. RegTech, InsurTech, and also the, well, I think obviously payments has always been very strong in Hong Kong. So again, these are essentially the segments that we have some specialists in our team to help point you in the right direction. All right. Now, so in case you have any further questions, we are here to help. And so you can see us as a first point of contact into the Hong Kong fintech ecosystem. So with that, I think I have a little bit of time, but I'd like to switch it over and to our great friend and partner, FinNovaSia, and Anthony Sarr, the great CEO and founder.
Thank you, King, and appreciate for this opportunity to invest Hong Kong and WHub. It's great to be here and present to you first ever the exclusive details of what you can expect from this year's major fintech event in Hong Kong. And I must say, for those who just joined, it was King Leung, the head of FinTech in Invest Hong Kong. If you are already in Hong Kong, and you must know him, and if you consider to start your business in FinTech space in Hong Kong, I strongly recommend to talk to this person, because King is passionate about helping startups to scale their business, FinTech business in Hong Kong. So after this presentation, you might ask, so what's the most exciting happening these days in the city in fintech space? And it's a very special year for Hong Kong. We have 8 virtual banks launching. Many of them were built literally from home, from sofa during the COVID time. And it's first time for many years we will see a new batch of 8 virtual banks launching this year in Hong Kong. We have 4 virtual insurers launching in Hong Kong this year as well. So a lot of exciting developments. And in November this year, we would like to invite you to attend our flagship event here in Hong Kong, which is called Hong Kong FinTech Week, which takes place on 2nd to 6th of November. This is a flagship event for those who are passionate and enthusiastic about fintech. And this is the time of the year we will bring all the major people from all over the world under one roof to discuss what's next in fintech space. So let me go through quickly a few details that we would like to present this year during the FinTech Week. So this year, it's a 5th edition of the FinTech Week. Over the 5 years, we built a very large event. This year, we expect over 17,000, with most of our attendees coming from more than 60 countries. And we normally host over 4,000 business meetings, because business matchmaking is one of the key things. And we invite over 250 speakers from all over the world. And perhaps we can show you a short video, a trailer, that you will have a feel of what to expect this year.
We're in the opening scene of the 4th Industrial Revolution.
The opportunity is absolutely enormous to completely reshape what's going on.
People have frustrations with their banking experience.
Now is the time for fintech to really take over.
We cannot forget about the 1.7 billion people in the world who are still unbanked.
We all need to work together in order to bring more value to achieve this financial inclusion.
Digitization of financial services is such a massive opportunity.
How do we evolve the state of digital assets and how they're used out there in the world?
Are we heading for the right direction? Or in this journey, have we made any wrong turns?
Where are we right now, and what are the big trends we have to look for moving forward?
We need to be hungry for new change, new knowledge, dimensional changes in the industry.
we're going to see a fundamental transformation, but we are just at the beginning.
So we're back here, and you've just seen a very little glimpse of what to expect this year from the Hong Kong FinTech Week. And for those of you joining outside of Hong Kong, we understand there still might be a travel restriction in place. So for you especially, we are building a very comprehensive virtual platform where you will be able to join and actively participate in any activities throughout the whole week on any device. So we are living now in a digital era with this COVID situation, which has speeded up all the transformations. So we will be welcoming you to join us in the live sessions from anywhere in the world. So normally, we'll have a lot of amazing speakers that we invite to Hong Kong every year. We will soon announce next 50 amazing speakers that are making a history in FinTech space, so stay tuned. One of the big topics, of course, is China. China is a huge influencer in FinTech space globally, and you may see that how hugely they influence in the FinTech landscape. And we will traditionally, of course, have our focus on featuring the most exciting companies out of China, such as Tencent and Financial, Zhong'an, Ping An, and so on. So these China giants will be one of course, of our focuses of the FinTech Week this year. And besides, we would be also diving into a really hardcore tech for those of you who are a little bit geeky and want to understand the foundations of all those applications and tech applications in finance. So we'll dive into artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain applications, big cloud, all the hottest topics and that are making a big difference these days in the FinTech space. And one of the highlight of this year's FinTech Week is the so-called Global Fast Track program. So this is the program designed specifically for those of you who want to successfully scale their FinTech business in Hong Kong. Now, I want your attention, please, because this is something that we do for the first time, and it's meant to be to help you to connect those of you who are from the B2B business, FinTech business, to connect with potential clients and partners from the largest financial institutions in Hong Kong. So if you're a B2B firm, you already have some clients, you have certain revenues, you want to find opportunity here in Hong Kong, we are here for you to help, and we do it for free as a part of the Hong Kong FinTech Week event. So I will encourage all of you to check out our website, FintechWeek.HK, and find out more details about the Fast Track program. Yes. Just a couple of words about our corporate champions that are so-called for the Fast Track program. Those are the partnering organizations. So far, we have MTD, Chow Tai Fook, HKX, Hang Seng Bank, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and we will be adding more and more exciting companies that you will have a rare opportunity to get access to their executives and pitch your idea and your solution and see if there will be attraction so that you can successfully start your business here in Hong Kong, here at the Fast Track program. And of course, whether you are attending the event this year physically, if you're in Hong Kong, or you're attending virtually, we'll provide you with a very interesting opportunity to use our branded AI matchmaking app. So you'll be able to connect with anyone joining physically or virtually. And usually we have 80% of our attendees senior level executives from the financial services, FinTech companies, investors, virtual capital investors, and startup founders. So we designed this app for you to minimize effort to find the right people, connect with them, and start deal making. So please go to FintechHK to find out more details. We will be announcing more exciting stuff very soon. Stay tuned, and thank you.